push that could change everything. What if I told you that one split-second decision, one shove, in the middle of an NBA Finals game could alter the fate of an entire championship? Not a game-winning buzzer beater, not a historic scoring performance, not even a devastating injury. Just one moment, one push, and suddenly, the basketball world can't stop asking the same terrifying question. Is Victor Wembanyama about to become the reason the San Antonio Spurs lose the NBA Finals? Because that's exactly where we are. Less than a year ago, Wembanyama was being celebrated as the future face of basketball, the once-in-a-generation phenomenon, the 7'4" unicorn capable of doing things the league had never seen before. Every highlight, every block, every impossible fadeaway reinforced one belief. The NBA had found its next global superstar, but greatness comes with a spotlight, and sometimes that spotlight reveals cracks nobody wants to talk about. During Game 3 of the NBA Finals, with the Spurs desperately trying to climb back into the series, Wembanyama found himself locked in a physical battle with Knicks captain Jalen Brunson. Bodies collided, tempers simmered. Then came the shove. Brunson stumbled. Fans erupted. Social media exploded. The referee said nothing. No whistle. No foul. Play on. Within minutes, clips flooded the internet. Analysts replayed the footage frame by frame. Former players took sides. Knicks fans demanded accountability. Spurs fans defended their superstar. Suddenly, the biggest storyline wasn't San Antonio's crucial victory. It was Victor Wembanyama. Was he protecting himself after months of brutal playoff treatment? Or was the pressure of the biggest stage finally pushing the young superstar across a dangerous line? Because here's the truth, nobody can ignore this wasn't an isolated incident. Questions about Wembanyama's physicality have been building throughout the postseason. The frustration, the retaliation, the emotional reactions, they're beginning to form a pattern. And patterns have consequences, especially in the NBA Finals. One mistake can cost you a possession. Two mistakes can cost you a game. But another lapse in judgment, that could cost Wembanyama everything. His reputation, his team's championship hopes, and the trust of an entire league that desperately wants him to become its next icon. As Game 4 approaches, the pressure has never been heavier. Every screen he sets, every rebound he fights for, every collision under the basket will be examined under a microscope. Because now, everyone is watching. The referees, the Knicks, the media, the fans, and maybe most importantly, Victor Wembanyama himself. Can the NBA's brightest young star control the fire burning inside him? Or is this final series about to become the moment everything changes? Before we dive deeper, I want to hear from all of you. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city, state, or country down in the comments. And here's tonight's question. If you believe Wembanyama did nothing wrong and playoff basketball should be physical, comment the number 1. If you think the NBA should have punished him for the shove on Brunson, comment the number 2. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because what happens next in this series could define not only this championship, but the future of one of basketball's biggest stars. The moment that broke the internet. It started with something that looked ordinary, a half-court possession, a little off-ball contact, two stars fighting for space in a finals game where every inch mattered. But then, in one sharp motion, everything changed. Jalen Brunson was trying to hold his ground near the free throw line. Victor Wembanyama was trying to create separation. The contact built slowly, shoulder to chest, arm to arm, the kind of physical battle fans expect in June. Then Wembanyama extended his arm. Brunson lost balance, and Madison Square Garden reacted like it had just witnessed something bigger than basketball. The strange part wasn't only the shove, it was what happened after. No whistle came. Brunson got up furious, pointing toward Wembanyama, trying to make sure somebody saw what had just happened. But Wemby had already turned away, calm, almost untouched by the chaos around him. That image became the story. Brunson, angry and disrespected. Wembanyama, silent and composed. The officials, frozen in controversy. And the fans, left screaming one question: how does that not get called? Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, sports shows, podcasts, fan pages, everyone had an opinion. Some saw a superstar getting away with special treatment. Others saw Brunson grabbing and battling first, then exaggerating the contact. But the damage was already done. The NBA Finals had turned into a courtroom, and Wembanyama was suddenly on trial. What made the moment even bigger was the context. The Spurs entered Game 3 down, 0-2, desperate, cornered, and in need of a statement. Wembanyama gave them exactly that. He played with force, confidence, and urgency, finishing with one of the strongest performances of his young playoff career. San Antonio won the game, but somehow, Wembanyama still walked out under a clap. Because when a player becomes that important, every action gets magnified. A normal shove becomes a national debate. A missed whistle becomes a conspiracy. A smirk becomes evidence. And for the Knicks, it felt personal. Their leader had been knocked off balance in their building, in front of their fans, during the biggest series of the year. And nothing happened. No food, no review, no immediate consequence. That is the kind of silence that creates noise. By the next morning, the entire basketball world had chosen sides. Some called Wembanyama reckless. Some called him protected. Some called it playoff basketball. But nobody called it meaningless, because it wasn't. It was the spark that turned a competitive finals into something far more dangerous. A fight over respect, a fight over fairness, a fight over how much physicality the NBA is willing to allow when its newest superstar is involved. And now, every person watching knew Game 4 would not feel normal. It would feel personal. Hero or villain? Concise version. The controversy became dangerous because both sides believed they were right. Knicks fans saw Jalen Brunson get shoved in an NBA Finals game with no whistle, no review, and no consequence. To them, it looked like Wembanyama was being protected because he is the league's next global superstar. But Spurs fans saw something different. They saw Wembanyama getting grabbed, bumped, held, and tested all series long. To them, the shove was not dirty. It was a young superstar finally refusing to be bullied. That is why the debate exploded. Was Wembanyama crossing the line, or was he simply reacting to playoff basketball? The problem is perception. When you are 7'4", every physical move looks bigger. A small shove becomes a national scandal, a frustrated reaction becomes evidence, and now Wembanyama is trapped between two images. To some, he is still the young genius learning how to survive the final. To others, he is becoming the villain of the series. And once fans decide you are the villain, every move you make becomes part of the case against you. The dangerous pattern. The Brunson shove would have been easier to dismiss if it were the first time, but it wasn't. That is why this story became bigger than one missed whistle. Earlier in the playoffs, Wembanyama had already been involved in another controversial moment against Naz Reid. In that game, after heavy contact and a rough double team, Wembanyama swung his elbow high and caught Reid near the head and neck area. The officials reviewed it. The call was upgraded. Wembanyama was ejected. For the first time in his young career, the NBA's future face was forced to leave a playoff game early. Not because of injury, not because of foul trouble, but because his emotions and physical response had crossed the line. That moment should have been a warning, because in the playoffs, frustration builds quietly. It starts with one grab, then one missed call, then one hard bump under the basket, then another defender leaning into your legs, your hips, your back, your arms. For most players, that pressure is uncomfortable. For Wembanyama, it is constant. Every opponent knows the same truth. You cannot defend him normally. He is too tall, too skilled, too long, and too unpredictable. So teams try to make the game ugly. They push him before he jumps. They bump him before he catches. They grab him before he turns. But the danger comes when the hunted player starts hunting back. Because Wembanyama's reactions do not look small. They look dramatic. They look powerful. They look like headlines. An elbow against Reid. A shove against Brunson. Two different series. Two different moments. Same uncomfortable question. Is this just a young superstar learning the violence of playoff basketball? Or is this becoming a pattern the NBA can no longer ignore? The Spurs want to believe he is being targeted. The Knicks want to believe he is being protected. The league wants the controversy to disappear. But the footage keeps coming back. And every time fans watch it again, the conversation gets louder. Wembanyama is not just fighting opponents anymore. He is fighting the image forming around him. And in the NBA Finals, image can become reality fast. The NBA's impossible decision. Now, the NBA had a problem. If the league upgraded Wembanyama's shove to a flagrant foul, the finals would change instantly. Not because of the scoreboard, but because of the penalty points already attached to his name. Wembanyama was not starting from zero. He already had flagrant foul points from the earlier Naz Reid incident. That meant another upgrade would push him dangerously close to suspension territory. One more mistake after that, and the Spurs could lose their most important player in the biggest series of the year. That is why the decision was so heavy. This was not just about whether one shove deserved a whistle. It was about whether the NBA was willing to put its newest superstar one step away from missing a finals game. And everybody knew what that meant. The Spurs, without Wembanyama, are not the same team. Their defense changes, their offense changes, their confidence changes. He is not just a scorer. He is the system, the safety net, the emotional center of their championship dream. For the Knicks, that made the no upgrade decision even harder to accept. They saw Brunson hit the floor. They saw the replay. They heard the league admit a foul was missed, but in the end, Wembanyama received no extra punishment. That created the worst possible feeling for New York. The belief that there are two different rulebooks, one for everyone else, and one for the NBA's future golden star. But the league also had to protect the integrity of the finals. If they upgraded the play, critics would accuse them of overreacting to social media pressure. If they did nothing, critics would accuse them of protecting Wembanyama. There was no clean answer, only consequences. And by choosing not to upgrade the play, the NBA kept Wembanyama on the floor, kept the Spurs' title hopes alive, and pushed all the tension into Game 4. Now every whistle matters more. Every collision feels bigger. Every reaction from Wembanyama could become breaking news. Because the league may have avoided one crisis, but it created another. It told the Knicks they were not heard. It told the Spurs their superstar survived the storm. And it told the entire basketball world that Game 4 would be watched like a crime scene. Ghosts of 2016. Every NBA Finals has a moment people remember forever. Sometimes it is a shot. Sometimes it is a block. Sometimes it is a mistake that never stops haunting a franchise. For Wembanyama and the Spurs, the shadow hanging over this controversy comes from 2016. Draymond Green, Game 5. Golden State leading Cleveland 3-1. One suspension changed everything. The Warriors had control of the finals, momentum, home court, and one of the greatest regular season teams ever assembled. But after Green accumulated too many flagrant foul points, the NBA suspended him for a crucial game. He watched, the Warriors lost. Cleveland came back, history changed. That is why Wembanyama's situation feels so dangerous. It is not just about one shove on Brunson, it is about how quickly emotional mistakes can become championship disasters. Wembanyama is only 22. He is still learning how brutal the finals can be. But the NBA does not pause history because a superstar is young. The rules do not care about potential, the scoreboard does not care about pressure, and opponents definitely do not care about his future. The Knicks know exactly what they are doing now. They will test him, they will bump him, they will talk. They will crowd his space and force him to decide over and over again whether to stay calm or react. That is the hidden game inside the final. Not just Spurs versus Knicks, Wembanyama versus himself, because the scariest opponent is not always wearing another jersey. Sometimes it is your own frustration, your own pride, your own need to prove you will not be pushed around. Draymond Green learned that the hard way. Now Wembanyama is standing near the same cliff. One more reckless moment, and the conversation changes from dominance to disaster. One more flagrant foul, and the Spurs may have to chase a championship without the one player they cannot replace. That is how fragile greatness becomes in June. You can be the most talented player in the building. You can be the future of the league. But if you lose control at the wrong time, history will not remember your excuse. It will remember the consequence. New York wants revenge. Game 4 will not begin at the opening tip. It already began the moment Jalen Brunson hit the floor. New York did not forget the shove. The fans did not forget the no call. The locker room did not forget the feeling that their leader had been knocked down while the league looked away. That is what makes the next game dangerous. The Knicks are not just trying to win anymore. They are trying to answer. Jose Alvarado's warning made that clear. When he said Wembanyama got away with one, it did not sound like frustration. It sounded like a promise. And in Madison Square Garden, promises like that travel fast. The crowd will be loud from the first possession. Every time Wembanyama touches the ball, the arena will react. Every screen he sets will be watched. Every hard box out will feel personal. Every collision with Brunson will carry extra heat, but the Knicks must be careful. Revenge can energize a team. It can also destroy one. If New York lets emotion control the game, they could hand the Spurs exactly what they need: fouls, free throws, and chaos. But if they channel that anger into pressure, discipline, and toughness, they can turn Wembanyama's own frustration against him. That is the real mission. Do not just hit back. Make him think. Make him hesitate. Make him feel the weight of every whistle that might come next. Because Wembanyama is now playing two games at once. One against the Knicks, and one against the officials watching his every move. New York knows it. San Antonio knows it. And Wembanyama knows it too. That is why Game 4 feels less like a basketball game and more like a test of emotional survival. Can the Knicks stay physical without crossing the line? Can Wembanyama stay dominant without losing control? And can the referees manage a game where every single contact might explode into controversy? The shove may be over, but the consequences are just beginning. The weight of a franchise. Wembanyama is not just another player in this series. He is the reason San Antonio believes. Without him, the Spurs lose their identity. Their defense becomes smaller. Their offense becomes easier to predict. Their confidence changes the moment he leaves the floor. That is why every foul matters now. Because if Wembanyama gets suspended, the Spurs do not simply lose points and rebounds. They lose their foundation. He is the rim protector who makes drivers second-guess themselves. He is the mismatch that forces defenses to bend. He is the emotional symbol of a franchise trying to rise again. And that makes his burden enormous. At 22 years old, Wembanyama is carrying the pressure of a championship run, the expectations of San Antonio, and the future image of the NBA itself. The league wants him to become the next global face of basketball. Fans want him to dominate. Teammates need him to lead. But leadership is not only about highlight, it is about restraint. It is about knowing when to fight back and when to walk away. That is the hardest lesson for a young superstar in the finals. Everyone is trying to provoke you. Every defender wants to test your patience. Every crowd wants to see you react. And now the Knicks know exactly where the pressure point is. They do not need to stop Wembanyama completely. They only need to make him uncomfortable enough to make one mistake. One shove, one elbow, one frustrated reaction. That is all it could take. The scary part for San Antonio is that Wembanyama is too important to play scared, but too valuable to play reckless. He must stay aggressive without becoming emotional. He must protect himself without giving the officials a reason to punish him. That is the balance legends learn. And this finals may force him to learn it faster than anyone expected. Because the Spurs can survive bad shooting, they can survive a hostile crowd, they can even survive a tough whistle, but they cannot survive losing Victor Wembanyama. Not now. Not this close to a championship. The game within the game. Game 4 is no longer just about basketball. It is about control. The Knicks will try to control the emotion. The Spurs will try to control the pressure. The referees will try to control the physicality. And Wembanyama must control himself. That is the real battle now. Every possession will carry a hidden question. Who breaks first? New York wants to make the game uncomfortable. They want Wembanyama fighting for every catch, every rebound, every step toward the rim. They want him thinking about the whistle before he thinks about the shot, because hesitation is a weapon. If Wembanyama plays too carefully, the Knicks win. If he plays too recklessly, the Knicks may win even bigger. That is the trap. San Antonio needs him aggressive. They need his blocks, his scoring, his presence, his fearlessness, but they also need him calm enough to avoid the one mistake that could flip the finals. Meanwhile, the officials are under pressure too. After the missed call, every whistle will be questioned. If they call it tight, people will say they are overcorrecting. If they let contact go, New York will feel ignored again. No matter what happens, controversy is waiting. And that is why Game 4 feels so explosive. The scoreboard will matter, but the body language may matter more. One stare, one bump, one late reaction, one angry gesture could become the next viral clip. Wembanyama has the talent to dominate this series, but now he must prove he has the discipline to survive it. Because in the NBA Finals, the most important battle is not always against the opponent. Sometimes, it is against the moment itself, the lesson that defines legends. In the end, this is bigger than one shove. It is bigger than one missed whistle. It is bigger than one angry reaction from New York or one defensive explanation from San Antonio. This is about what separates talent from greatness. Victor Wembanyama has everything the basketball world dreams about. Height, skill, timing, vision, confidence, and the rare ability to change a game without even touching the ball. But the finals demand more than talent. They demand control. Because the greatest players do not only dominate opponents, they master themselves. They understand that every reaction has a cost. Every emotional decision leaves evidence. Every unnecessary foul gives the other team hope. That is the lesson Wembanyama must learn now. Not next season, not 5 years from now. Right now, under the brightest lights in basketball, the Knicks will test him, the crowd will challenge him, the referees will watch him, the media will judge him, and the Spurs will need him to stay calm enough to lead. If he learns from this moment, he becomes more dangerous than ever. Not just because he can block shots, score over anyone, or bend the game with his size, but because he will understand power with discipline. And that is when a superstar becomes a legend. For the Knicks, the lesson is different. Anger can be useful, but only if it becomes focus. Revenge cannot win a championship. Discipline can, toughness can, team basketball can. For the NBA, this series is a reminder that consistency matters. The league cannot ask players to respect the line if the line keeps moving. Physical basketball is part of the finals, but fairness must be part of it too. Game 4 will tell us a lot, not just about who has the better team, but about who has the stronger mind, and maybe that is the real beauty of championship basketball. It reveals everything: talent, fear, pressure, pride, patience, and character. So now the question is simple. Will Wembanyama control the fire, or will the fire control him? If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with another NBA fan. And before you go, comment below. 1, if you believe Wembanyama will learn from this and lead the Spurs like a future legend. 2, if you think the Knicks will use this controversy to break him mentally. And tell us where you are watching from, because this final story is far from over.